Hello viewers and welcome to another match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. This is the second semi-final game from the 2015 Conquest LCG Russian National Championship. This is the penultimate game in a series of 8 separate matches, each sent in to me by Anton Elizarov, and whichever player ends up winning this game is not only going to advance to the finals, but they'll also have the opportunity to potentially be crowned as the 2015 Russian national champion. To the left, once again, we see Klim Petrov, whom is going to be playing as Eldorath Starbane, and to the right, as ever, we've got the Packmaster Kith playing Pavel Illichev. Looks like Eldorath's opening deploy action is going to be a copy of Rogue Trader thrown out to planet number 4, and Pavel effectively mirrors this move by putting out his own Rogue Trader to planet number 2. Each of those units are 1 cost, 1 command icon with a printed +1 resource bonus at their respective planets, and planet number 1, currently under contest, is going to be Iridial, the 3 planet type icon healing planet. To the left, Eldorath puts out a copy of Warlock Destructor at planet number 1. For the cost of 2 resources, it's a 3 attack, 4 hit point, 1 command icon unit, an absolutely spectacular value for the cost, albeit at the penalty of requiring you to invest 1 additional resource during the deploy phase, lest you otherwise be forced to discard that unit. But if you can guarantee it's going to be bogged down in combat, it may not end up surviving, and like I said, absolutely fantastic value. But at planet number 5, we've now got a copy of Rogue Trader. That's going to be 2 out of a possible 3 for our Dark Eldar player, and at planet number 2, a very expensive Eldar faction unit, we've got the 4-cost unique Autarch Salakia, 1 command icon, 3 attack, as well as 3 hit points, and you can end up investing an additional resource in that unit so that for the remainder of the round it can either gain Armor Bane or Area Effect 1 or Mobile. So it's possible that that unit could shift to planet number 2 if it appears beneficial to do so, and that's going to be after its 1 command icon blocks our Dark Eldar player from winning a command struggle at planet number 2. But note, planet number 4, for the cost of just 1 resource, we've got a Slith Mercenary, 2 attack, 2 hit points, 2 command icons, and as an action, either player can invest 2 resources in that unit to bribe control of it, but our DE player keeps the deploy actions coming after our Eldar faction player has passed. We see a copy of the signature army unit Kith's Chimera Masters positioned at planet number 2. That's going to be yet another command icon, which is going to allow it to trump the 1 associated with Autarch Salakia, and that's potentially going to be 2 resources and 1 card to the right for Pavel. But beyond just that, the Chimera Masters themselves are a 1 attack value, 2 hit point unit. They put into play our very first Chimera token of the game, something that normally harasses the hell out of our Eldar player. They're 2 attack, 1 hit point creature trait tokens, and in the midst of our command phase, where exactly are our players going to be sending their warlords? Unless Kith shows up at planet number 1, that Warlock Destructor is going to be winning that planet entirely uncontested, but if Eldorath ends up winning as much as a single resource, he could potentially shift Autarch Salakia to planet number 1 to aid in the fight if Kith does decide to show up there. Kith goes to planet number 2, and it looks like Eldorath also arrives to planet number 2, so look out for a superiority potentially played by either of our players to nullify the command icons associated with a target enemy unit. So at the moment, it's looking like that Warlock Destructor is going to be a card to the left for Eldorath. It looks like, let's see, Eldorath arrives at planet number 2. He exhausts that Kith's Chimera Masters, so therefore it's going to be 1 command icon to 1 command icon. Neither of our players is going to be winning anything at planet number 2. Planet number 3 is going to be no contest. Command struggle-wise, planet number 4 is going to be 2 cards to the right for my homeboy or homegirl, Packmaster Kith. Planet number 5 is going to be a total of 2 resources and 1 card for Packmaster Kith, and let's see those resource tokens roll in. Pavel is dressed to the nines for the occasion, and it looks like he's got dollars for days to fund, I don't know, Archon's Terror, Klavex War Leader, all your Dark Eldar favorites. So looks like the Warlock Destructor is indeed going to win that planet number 1 entirely uncontested, but it's at the cost of a 2-resource unit and a card, and now it's going to be sitting in his HQ. Eldorath is going to invest an additional resource in that unit just to keep it around, and, it's going to have to show up at a planet exhausted, so that could work out pretty favorably for Kith. If Kith goes for an ultra-long game, Iridial, it didn't have any eligible targets, so that's not going to be doing any good. At planet number 2 here, we've got Autarch Salakia that's potentially going to be taking a swing, but I don't see any Eldar resource tokens, and that means there's no area effect 1 to potentially kill off myriad enemy units, and that about blows for Eldorath. But Autarch Salakia takes a swing of 3. We do not see the Agonizer of Bren discarded, therefore that is going to be one monumentally dead Chimera token. Another Chimera token takes a swing, leaping up and taking 2 chunks out of Autarch Salakia. So judging by the Autarch's card art, it's readily able to kill those, I think, pink horrors, but I suppose the fleshless, well, skinless, not fleshless, Chimera tokens are pretty adept at taking bites out of unique Eldar units. Eldorath himself is going to be taking an attack. Is that going to be directed toward the Chimera token, or is it instead going to be directed toward the Rogue Trader? It doesn't matter either way. We see the timely discard of a signature event. Pact of the Homunculi basically block that damage entirely. Kith takes a swing, and that is going to be a Gift of Isha discarded to negate that attack. Normally, you want to deal out a lot of damage, but I certainly wouldn't mind seeing a copy of Gift of Isha sitting in the discard pile. But who knows, the, Isha's gift could start with a D. We come to the end of the combat round. That's going to be all of our units readying. It's going to be Eldorath's decision whether or not Eldorath wants to stay. And it looks like both of our players are keeping all of their units at that location. Autarch Salakia takes a swing at something. We see Searing Brand discarded. Therefore, Kith, the target, is only going to end up taking 1 point of damage. The Chimera token deals that killing blow. That's going to be a 4-cost Autarch Salakia now sitting in the discard pile, but there's nothing stopping our Eldar player from potentially recurring that into play some other game round with another copy of possibly Gift of Isha in hand. And if you recur a 4-cost unit that could potentially do Area Effect 1 or Armor Bane, that could be an incredibly nasty surprise, albeit an expensive one. Looks like we come to the end of a combat. Well, I guess we don't come to the end of a combat round. We use Eldorath's combat turn so that he can turn tail and run away from that planet. That means Packmaster Kith is going to end up winning at that location, and that is going to be Aatrox Prime discharging into the Eldar player's HQ. It's 1 point of damage dealt to the Warlock Destructor, and it's an additional point of damage dealt out to Eldorath Starbane. So we're going to see our first HQ phase being processed. That's 4 resources and 2 cards for each of our players. Our new 5th planet is going to be Farron, which allows you to rout a target non-warlord unit. Kith is positioned reasonably well to be winning at the first planet because, note, our Eldar player is, only got those 4 resource tokens, whereas Kith has 8. Note that Warlock Destructor now has a point of damage on it, therefore Klavak's War Leader could spring surprisingly down upon a planet, decapitate the Warlock Destructor, and then sling its entrails at another unit for a potential 3 points of damage. But it actually looks like Eldorath decides to let that unit die. He does not invest an additional resource in it, which may actually be a pretty wise move considering that Klavak's War Leader play that I alluded to, or it could be a monumental mistake, but we'll have to see how things end up being resolved here. So we see a copy of Incubus Warrior thrown out to planet number 4. So for the cost of 2, that's a Dark Eldar common unit, 2 command icons, 3 attack, 1 hit point. Note that our initiative token is currently in Pavel's possession, so he'll have initiative at our current planet number 1. He'll be able to attack with a Chimera token first against any enemy Eldar units, unless Eldorath arrives at that planet and steals initiative. But Kith has got no units in her HQ, and therefore Kith and Eldorath both are going to be able to basically run amok and pursue any battle ability that they would like. I wouldn't be surprised to see Eldorath pursue planet number 4, Taurus, because if you control fewer units than does your opponent, it allows you to, upon winning a battle at that planet, to basically draw the top 3 cards off of your deck, add those to your hand, or fish 3 resources out of the token bank and add those to your reservoir. Add those to your trust fund. So Let us see, Packmaster Kith has added a copy of Archon's Palace to her HQ, so kind of doing a bit of a redesign, refurnishing the place, making it a much more inviting and accommodating destination there for visitors. For the cost of 2, it's a unique support. Whenever your opponent happens to win a command struggle, you either pick the card or resource bonus associated with that same planet, and you reduce it from its current value to 0, which includes any and all modifiers, such as that rogue trader sitting at Elowith, planet number 3, but at planet number 2, our DE player threw out Bloodied Reavers, 2 cost, 1 command icon, 2 attack, 2 hit points. It gets a +2 attack value bonus whenever a Warlord is present. Kith puts out his own copy of Incubus Warrior to planet number 5, and it looks like Eldorath simply cannot catch a break, but because 2 command icons for the cost of 2 is a far better bargain than the 1 command icon for the 2-cost Eldar Survivalist that Eldorath put out to that planet. So, Eldar Survivalist, great card theoretically, practically probably not so much. 0 attack, 2 hit points, +1 card bonus, +1 resource bonus, and now, thanks to a copy of Promotion at planet number 4, that Rogue Trader is now sitting at 3 command icons. It would have potentially trumped the Incubus Warriors command were it not for Eldorath arriving at planet number 4 and immediately exhausting that Rogue Trader for subsequent destruction. Kith goes to planet number 1. That's going to be Aatrox Prime again, where you could blast the enemy HQ or an adjacent planet, but that's not going to be doing anything for Kith. Planet number 1 is going to be a card and 2 resources for Kith. Note that Archon's Palace is going to be shutting off something for the Eldar player. Planet number 2 is going to be a resource to the right for Kith. Planet number 3 is going to be 2 cards for Kith. Planet number 4, I would imagine that was the card bonus that was turned off by Archon's Palace. That's just going to be 1 resource token for Eldar, our Eldar player, or I may have that backward, and he might have gotten 1 card and not 1 resource. And it's going to be really difficult for you to get back in the game economically if you're being fantastically resource-starved by such a powerful Dark Eldar economy here. And of course, our last, final planet is going to be 2 resources to the right for the Dark Eldar player. So, Kith, upon showing up at a planet, I do not believe she actually generated she did generate a Chimera token because one of those have been killed. Kith wins that first planet entirely uncontested. That's going to be a red and a blue planet type icon added to Kith's victory display. Eldorath, of course, at planet number 3, handily destroys that Rogue Trader. And are we going to see Foretell block the activation of that planetary ability? Yes, we do. Very well done, Pavel. This is the semifinals of a Russian championship. Therefore, I would expect spectacular deck building, spectacular gameplay that really could have potentially helped Eldorath get back in the game, but that about sucks. So Foretell, you exhaust your Warlord, you draw a card, it's got a bit of a built-in cantrip, and you cancel the battle ability of any planet. So starving Eldorath of 3 resources, that definitely hurts Klim's chances of advancing to the very finals here. But this game is far from over. We see our last planet of the match. It's going to be Karnath, the wildcard planet, which triggers the battle ability of any other planet sitting upon the tabletop. Our initiative token goes over to Pavel, and let us see. That's 4 resources and 2 cards for each of our players. Eldorath uses half of his allotment of resource tokens to invest in an Eldar Survivalist at planet number 5. It could potentially be 2 cards and 2 resources for him, but a Slith Mercenary could block that completely. So what exactly are we going to see? We see Siren Zithlex being played at planet number 2. That is the victory condition planet for the DE player. 3 cost, it's a unique 2 command icons, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Whenever an enemy deploys a unit to that planet, that unit is exhausted, therefore it's not going to be contributing its command icons, and further, it's not going to be able to attack during the first round of combat. And our DE player has got quite a few units forming up in the HQ. They're just celebrating the depravity that I'm sure is inherent to that Archon's Palace there. A wretched hive of scum and debauchery, I guess, if ever there was one. So let's see if Eldar ends up throwing anything else out onto the tabletop or if he instead has passed. It looks like Klim isn't going to be playing any cards, but are we done now? Note, current planet number 1 is Yavvarn, where upon triggering that planet, both players just take an army unit from their hand, put it into play into their HQ without paying any requisite cost. Looks like Eldorath's presumably final deploy, unless he's got a copy of Promotion in hand, is going to be placing a copy of Bloodied Reavers at planet number 1. Note he does not have initiative, and if no Warlord shows up at that planet, it's definitely going to be a bit of an uphill battle for Eldorath to try to win that planet. Either of our players may end up using a copy of Archon's Terror to, I don't know, maybe mutually rout one another's units and guarantee that that's going to be disappearing into the void. But if Kith shows up at planet number 1, there's going to be no chance in hell that our Eldar player is going to be able to win at that planet. Kith could show up to planet number 5 just to make sure that that Eldar survivalist doesn't collect any resources, but then Kith is going to be dropping off those Chimera tokens, generating an additional Chimera token, and without the Chimera Den to relocate those, that's probably a suboptimal play. Looks like we do end up seeing a copy of Promotion put onto that Eldar survivalist at planet number 4. Kith is also therefore incentivized to go to planet number 4, but Kith may also just play it safe and instead arrive at planet number 1, or just arrive at planet number 2 and drop off all those units for a possible victory condition here. So Kith might have Klavex Warleader in hand and or Archon's Terror, and of course if that's the case, that could dramatically increase the likelihood that Kith is going to be able to win at planet number 1. But Eldorath goes to planet number 1. Kith decides to drop off her Warlord retinue at planet number 2, which is a possible victory condition for her, but now all of a sudden it's looking relatively unlikely for Eldorath to try to win this planet, unless we have something like a double Klavex Warleader play by Packmaster Kith. But planet number 1, Eldorath arrives, comes in like a wrecking ball, immediately exhausts that Bloodied Reavers, depletes its engine of Promethium, or whatever the Dark Eldar equivalent is. That's going to be 1 resource in total for Eldorath. Note that Archon's Palace is shutting off something, presumably the resource bonus associated with planet number 4. Planet number 2, Kith, is going to end up winning 2 cards and 1 resource. Planet number 3, that's going to be 1 card and 1 resource to the left for Eldorath. Planet number 3, like I said, probably 3 resources shut off thanks to the Archon's Palace, but it's nevertheless going to be 1 card to the left for Eldorath. And for planet number 5 there, that is going to be Karnath, is going to be 2 cards and 2 resources for Eldorath. So Kith tries to use Archon's Palace to remove that Bloodied Reavers, but it looks like Eldorath exhausts to use Nullify to cancel that effect. Looks like another copy of Archon's Terror removed the Bloodied Reavers from that same planet. A Klavex Warleader gets thrown into play at planet number 1, and Eldorath uses his own copy of Archon's Terror to remove the Klavex Warleader. So in the space of, 1 action window, we've seen 3 Archon's Terrors used and a Klavex Warleader. So as a final result, it's going to be, we come to the end of a combat round, it's going to be Eldorath facing down 1 copy of a Bloodied Reavers. Eldorath is going to be attacking for 1. He's got a reservoir of 6 remaining hit points. The Bloodied Reavers instead is going to be attacking for 4, and they have 2 hit points, but I believe Kith has a fair few cards in hand, and if Kith is going to be able to shield at least a couple times, that could be a very beaten to shit Eldorath Starbane. So let us see what happens. Eldorath takes a swing. The discard of a Promotion means that Bloodied Reavers is going to be able to attack for 4. We see a copy of Promotion discarded by Eldorath, and therefore he's only going to take 3 points of damage, but now he's sitting at 3 hit points remaining, and it's going to be up to Eldorath to try to win at this planet, because otherwise he's going to be up against a whole hell of a lot. God, Eldorath retreats from the planet, so congratulations to Kith for winning planet number 1. That is going to be added to her victory display. That's going to be 2 red and 2 blue tech and material type icons, and therefore if Kith is going to be able to win the battle at our soon-to-be planet number 1, that is going to be the game right there for Kith, and that means Pavel is going to advance to the finals of the Russian National Championships here. But before that happens, we do have a battle at planet number 2. I believe it was a Chimera token, took a swing, killed off that copy of Rogue Trader. As an action, our Eldar player purchases control of that Slith Mercenary, and is Kith unable to purchase it back because Kith only has one remaining resource. The Slith Mercenary is going to swing. That's going to be a copy of Raid, discarded as a shield, whatever the target was. A Chimera token takes a swing, and that is going to be a dead copy of Slith Mercenary returned to Pavel's discard pile. So, Kith ends up winning the battle at planet number 2. That means Kith is going to have a chance to look at the top 3 cards of her deck and add one of those to her hand. Kind of mixing up my gender pronouns here when we have a male playing as a female warlord, but who am I to judge? And of course, here in the Traxxas sector, we accept absolutely anyone. So, let us see. This is potentially the last phase of the game. We've moved through HQ, 4 resources and 2 cards for either of our players, and like I said, this is potentially the last round because this is going to be the victory condition for Packmaster Kith. So, is Kith going to be able to win the game here? Eldorath is definitely up against an uphill battle. Eldorath has got 4 resources, but any units that Eldorath plays to planet number 1 are going to be entering play exhausted. Kith is going to arrive at planet number 1. That's going to be a Clavex War Leader and Bloodied Reavers arriving at that planet. The Warlock Destructor ended up being deployed to planet number 1. Normally a great play for Eldorath, again for the cost, but it arrives exhausted. Kith throws out her own copy of the Warlock Destructor, which is not a welcome sight on the battlefield when you are Eldorath Starbane. And let's see if there's absolutely anything that Klim is going to be able to do to dig himself out of this hole. He's suddenly finding himself in the chattering teeth of the Chimera are, just clicking in the darkness. They're closing in. Eldorath himself could arrive at planet number 1. He'll be able to exhaust any of these units. Probably, it doesn't really matter too much. I guess the Siren Ziflax would be the best choice just because she's going to be the hardest unit to end up killing. But considering that Kith is going to be showing up with that War Leader, considering Kith is going to be showing up with that Bloodied Reavers, I'm not really seeing anything that our Eldar player is going to be able to do. Note, fortunately for his sake, he's going to be able to do relatively well in regard to command, but he's going to have to come across a lot of copies of Gift of Isha or something to try to get out of this one. Kith has got a promoted Incubus Warrior at planet number 3, which is closing down the Eldar Survivalist with its own promotion there, so that means Eldorath isn't going to be winning that many resources at all. So let's hope our Eldar player has got a foresight. Eldorath goes to planet number 3, Kith shows up to planet number 1, so let's see, that's going to be the Incubus Warrior exhausted. Is Foresight going to reposition Eldorath to planet number 1? I can't help but think at this point it's going to be entirely impossible for Eldorath to try to get out of this one because this is looking to be an absolute nightmare. Looks like perhaps Eldorath is accepting the inevitable because we have not seen a Foresight used. That is going to be Kith at planet number 1, retrieving 2 cards and 1 resource in total. Planet number 2 is going to be a resource and a card to the left for Eldorath. Planet number 3, thanks to that Eldar Survivalist being able to win command, that is going to be 1 card and 3 resources, although Archon's Palace is shutting down something, whether it's cards, whether it's resources, and in planet number 4, that is going to be Karnath, resulting in 2 cards and 2 resources potentially for our Eldar player. But even a double Gift of Isha is only going to bring so many Eldar units back into play, and that still probably is not going to be enough for our Eldar player to win this one. We see a copy of Empower used, and I can only imagine this is maybe being a little bit cheeky, so that's going to be a 4/5 Warlock Destructor. That's going to be Archon's Terror, removing the opposing Warlock Destructor, and there you go. That is going to be the GG. Good game right there. Congratulations to Pavel Illichev for advancing to the finals of the Conquest LCG 2015 Russian National Championships, but very well played all the same to Klim Petrov. It was a hell of a game, but Kith was able to choke and starve and strangle and asphyxiate, and no matter how much Eldorath may or may not have enjoyed that process, in the end, Pavel was just insurmountable, and Packmaster Kith has ended up winning playing yet another game, relatively advantaged in the first place against Eldorath, and unfortunately Klim was not able to eke out a victory here, so hell of a match. I very much look forward to the finals. Thank you to Anton Elizarov for sending in yet another fantastic game. Thank you to you, the viewer, for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, as ever, you're always encouraged to share this content, because the more people that end up stumbling upon this game, the more people may join our Conquest LCG community. Fantasy Flight Games will take notice. They'll continue to develop and support this game for months and months and years to come. If at any point you would like to get in touch with me, I would definitely recommend you do so through Facebook or Twitter, as it's always an honor to hear from and interact with you, dear viewers. And if you ever feel an inclination to help support the Hive Tyrant, to help me cover some of my file hosting and operating expenses, I would be absolutely honored were you to consider making a monthly donation to my Patreon. Even $1 or $2 on, like I said, a strictly monthly basis can nevertheless do a monumental amount when it comes to helping me cover some of my basic operating expenses, and any additional dollars I can reinvest in improving this channel. But as always, thank you once again, and be sure to check back in again soon for much more Conquest LCG content to come.